Stretching before or after a session, which one is best? Well, I'm not a physiotherapist and I can't tell you exactly what you should do, but I can tell you what's best for me. You might also be wondering what I'm doing, and obviously I'm watering a curb. How else did you think they grow? So the last thing I ever want to do when I show up to the session is like sit down on the ground and start stretching. I'm still like a little kid when I get to the skate park in that I just want to get on my board and get skating as fast as possible. But stretching does have some great benefits. The good news is I stretch after. I actually never stretch before my session. So my approach to warming up is I just get on my board and I do it slow and steady. So if I'm in a skate park, my favorite thing to warm up on is transition, hands down. So the reason I love transition for warming up so much is there's no pushing, there's no jumping. Your legs don't even have to move all that much when you're just doing like basic slash grinds and axle stalls. For me, it's really the best way to warm up. Like 15-20 minutes on transition and I'm like good to hit the street park, if I even feel like getting out of the ramp that day. So if I'm not lucky enough to have some transition around, the next thing that I'll usually warm up on is curbs and, you know, pretty basic stuff like no complies. So for me, the key is a long, slow warm-up where I don't do any hard tricks. I don't do any flip tricks where my ankles are gonna bend a whole bunch for the first 10 minutes or so. Usually I'll start with heel flips before I actually graduate to kick flips. Kick flips put a lot more torque on my ankle, and honestly, it takes me about 20 minutes to warm up to the point where I can do it and I don't risk having an ankle strain. So I actually injured myself doing a static stretch about 4 years ago. I wasn't warmed up, I put my leg up on something and I just did a good stretch like this, and right here, it was like a muscle tendon, I don't know what it was, but I felt this like rip all through there, and for 4 years it was tight and I couldn't loosen it. I will admit I didn't do anything for it, but it wasn't until I started doing like a sort of split stretch and then I started massaging that muscle and I could feel it slowly letting go. But basically that lingered for 4 years and it was just from stretching when I wasn't warmed up. So again, the key for me is a long, slow warm up. And speaking of a long, slow warm up, all this filming and stuff, I'm actually not skating. So I'm gonna get on this ramp, get really warmed up. We'll have a session, which I haven't filmed a session in a while, and then I'll show you guys my cool down routine. And it's pretty simple. I don't actually do a lot of stretches cooling down, but I almost always try to remember to do it. Well, you guys, I'm feeling pretty warmed up, and as much as I love skating transition, I don't actually like filming it very much because, like, I don't know, I'm kind of done my 8 tricks that I have decently and I don't feel like filming any more of them. You know what we haven't done for a long time is like a flat ground session. You know, back when I used to do the reviews and like try and tell you how I thought a board felt because I did every single little trick on it. Well, let's do one of those without the board review. That's enough of that, you guys. As much as I love flat ground, I'm totally bored and I'm pretty much out of tricks that I can comfortably do with the knee right now. So I want to get to some ledges, but before we do, I'll indulge you for a second. Okay, the setup is real 8.5 full SE, 52 millimeter radial slims, Thunder 149 standards. It's great setup, maybe just a tad on the wide side for me, but it's been really good for the knee recovery. Incredible pinch, especially on the mini ramps and flat bars. Yeah, I accidentally turned into a Thunder guy while I was rehabbing my knee. Anyways, let's get to some ledges and the one more flat ground trick that I forgot to do. Okay, you guys, it is the end of the session. It's really cooling down. Clouds came in, but this is the most important time for me to stretch. And this is one of the most important ones that I do. So it's gonna be different for everybody in my opinion, but the cool down stretch is absolutely essential. For me, I really need to keep this part loosened up, like that hamstring that I pulled a long time ago. So I do this, and I just keep inching my way in. And part of the reason that I like to stretch at the end of the session is now I'm I'm all warmed up. My muscles are super limber and they're ready to be stretched. And I know that I'm not gonna tear them again like I did that time. So personally, for me, I find this the most productive time to stretch. I mean, I'm not getting a very productive stretch right now because I'm busy talking and looking at the camera. But I have definitely noticed that when I do a good stretch after a session, you know that feeling when you had such a hard session and then you sit down and drive for a while and you get up and you're just like, I can barely move. I don't have that so bad when I do a good after skate stretch. So it can be sometimes kind of hard to find a good spot to get that stretch after a session. You know, even if you have to go to the parking lot or somewhere, I really recommend it. And who knows, maybe if you actually do it at the skate park, you might encourage other people to pick up some good habits. So this is another one that's really important for me. And a lot of these stretches are gonna be specific to what bothers me. So I have definitely had some pretty bad Achilles tendonitis problems in the past. So I find that I have to do a really good stretch. And this isn't, if I can find something else to stretch on, this isn't the only one I do. So first, I do this one because I find the two stretches that I do both seem to kind of stretch out my calves in a different way. And the more I do there, the better. Because like I said, I've been a little bit prone to calf strains and Achilles tendonitis lately, and this helps a lot. I really don't need to stretch my calves out in the beginning of my session. Again, that 20-minute slow warm-up where I don't try hard tricks, that's all I need. That's really been my secret lately to not getting bad strains, strains that put me out. I've always got something that's kind of bugging me, but I don't always have something that's keeping me from skateboarding anymore. Just got to do the other side. Now, I definitely recommend a quad stretch. We do a lot of that stuff. Listen to me recommending things. Again, I'm not a physiotherapist and you got to do what works for you, but for me, a quad stretch is a good idea. Honestly, I've only just been able to start doing these again. So I've mentioned in videos that I have a torn meniscus or I don't know. It's getting better. But anyways, before I started doing the knees over toes guy exercises, and this isn't just a long knees over toes guy plug, but before I started doing them, I couldn't even do this stretch. I think I just had scar tissue and lack of mobility. So I like this one because it gets your quad and it also stretches out the front of your shin, your ankle. You can get a good stretch there. So that's another spot that definitely can get tight for me. And it's one of those places that can get strained, like I said, if I do kickflips too early. I think that's part of the reason why I do so much more heel flips now than I did. Like when I was younger, I always did a lot of heel flips, but I was more kick flippy. And now I'd say it's possible that I'm more heel flippy, and it's because they warm up for me faster. Oh, I stretched that out good. So I mentioned that I like to spend a little bit more time stretching my calves, and I found if you can get your foot on any kind of an incline, so often I do this actually in my garage with like a little piece of wood with grip tape on it, and I just prop it up against something. But I really find that like I get an extra stretch when I do this one, and my Achilles are kind of feeling it. That was a good sesh, and I've been skating like 3 days in a row, so I'm feeling some parts of my body a little bit right now. But this is the one that stretches out my Achilles the most. Like if I had to do only one or the other of those two stretches, this is the one I would choose. It's a really good one. And then once you start getting a real good stretch there, you can even like kind of go down like this and like start stretching your hamstring too. So I like this one because it's usually not hard to find some sort of a slope you can do this on. It doesn't have to be a quarter pipe, it can be a bank, right? Or you can even just do the common one where you hang your feet off of a step, like you just put your balls of your feet on a step, and then do this thing with one or both feet. It doesn't matter. But definitely you start stretching out those calves, you're gonna notice less Achilles tendonitis, less plantar fasciitis. That's an unpleasant one. That one is almost gone since I've been doing knees over toes. I still have the little lump in the arch of my feet in both of them, but I have no pain. So when I wake up in the morning and I take those first steps, I'm not feeling like the center of the arches of my feet aching anymore. So yeah, calf stretching is the big one there for me, I think. But for some people, it could be that whole kinetic chain where it's, you know, like your hamstrings pulling on your calves, pulling on your arches. So of course, there's some more classic stretches we can do, like this one for the glutes. It's a good stretch. I mean, it's not necessarily the best stretch for me, but I definitely get something out of it. Definitely, like, this is one of the stretches that I might start skipping, you know, like if I'm in a rush, say my wife just called me, when are you coming home? When are you coming home? This might be one of the ones I skip. And last but not least, I'll often double down on this one again because I find that I don't often get the best stretch the first time. So when I do this one a second time, I keep moving my board because I'm hoping one of these will be a good screen grab for a thumbnail. But I really find that doing this one twice helps me get the most out of it. I'll also often go like this to really just like work on each leg individually too. I didn't know I was going to turn this into a stretching tutorial. Honestly, I'm like not the best person to be listening to about how to stretch. I'm just telling you guys what works for me. That's all I can do. Oh, that was a good one. Well, you guys, that's pretty much it. So back in the day, I used to do more dynamic stretching at the start of my session, or static stretching even. Over time, I found that I just didn't need to do it anymore. The long, slow warm-up, you know, like a good 15, 20-minute warm-up of doing tricks that I know I'm gonna land and that I know I'm not gonna hurt myself on, that seems to be the ticket. And you know, I did pretty much every trick that I can do in this video at this spot. So until we either have new obstacles or I have new tricks, I don't know what else I'm gonna film here. It's time for me to kick my feet up and just relax and not feel too sore the next time I get up. And remember, you guys, I don't want this to be specific advice for you. I hope that if anything, it just encourages you to consider adopting some healthy habits that are going to help you skate for longer. I'm 40. I made this channel to just kind of show what it's like to just keep skating into your geriatric skate years, which I don't even think I'm in. I think I'm in my middle-aged skate years. You know, I want 20 more years, and hopefully if I continue to, you know, adopt better habits and improve upon them regularly, that maybe I'll be able to do that. And I hope if that's what you want for yourself, you're able to achieve that too. So hopefully this wasn't too long-winded of a video. It was definitely windy. I hope it didn't wreck the audio. Anyways, I hope you're doing awesome. I really mean that. And yeah, that's it. I'm not going to drag this out any longer. Till the next one, you guys.